Hey, everybody, welcome to the BbA three-pointer, three quick NBA questions to get your conversation started. Dane, you've got the first one.
Okay, I want to know how much longer you think Chris Paul has in this league.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. He's been doing it for seemingly forever. You look at most of his numbers this year, scoring and assists are not too far off of his career average. They're down a little bit. Three-point shooting is down quite a bit, and that's a little bit concerning. Steals are down as well. His minutes are down. But I think effectiveness, and we've seen that with the Phoenix Suns, as still being a floor general, still being a leader. Teams play better when he's on the floor still. That's a big sign. So, how much longer does he have at an elite level? I don't think he's an all star anymore. I think he's kind of a fringe guy on that. Can he hang around the fringe for two more seasons? Probably. And after that, you're looking at a backup level guy. He's so smart. I think he's somebody who'll be able to play for basically as long as his body will allow it, in staying healthy. He can be effective, but you're going to see his minutes continue to go down, down, down.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is better with more players around him, not only because he does get all those assists because he has good players around him, but especially with the Suns with Devin being an awesome shooter from outside so he can kick out.
Right, and they have DeAndre Ayton in the paint for him to spoon feed. They've got Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson on the wings, and a lot of other really valuable wings that have been there. So it's a good young team. He's a good fit for them as a floor general. But you're right, he can't carry a team anymore. It's best for him to be a facilitator, and ultimately that's what he's always been during his career. My question for you is in the 2000s. You've seen a lot of games, even though you were barely alive for most of that. You've seen a lot of games. You've got a lot of favorite players, both from the 2K era and from watching them. And of course, me being older, I grew up in that time too. So, who is your favorite player from the 2000s?
Highlight wise, I love Jason Williams. He is so great from everything, especially with him and Chris Webber being on the same team. That's crazy how
One of the
many
most fun
highlights.
teams of all time, those Sacramento Kings in the early 2000s.
He's kicking out passes everywhere. He's throwing behind the back passes everywhere. It's just insane what he can do. Not to mention the handles as well.
Yeah, he was a fun one to watch live when it was happening. My favorite player during the 2000s is one of my favorite players of all time, and I've actually got a lot that spanned during that time, but it's got to be Kevin Garnett for me. Having grown up with him in Minnesota, get a chance to cover him as press. And to see his career blossom. Of course, he left the Timberwolves in 2007, but I did get to see him win a championship with the Boston Celtics, and I was happy for him. Greatest season in Timberwolves history was 2004 when they made the Western Conference Finals, and he was MVP. I'll give honorable mention to Tim Duncan from the Spurs, Manu Ginobili as well. Those were two of my all-time favorites that happened during that era. Final question, then for you. Who is the most underrated player do you think right now in the NBA? That's such a touchy question because how we rate is very subjective. But who does not get enough respect for what they do?
I think Joel Embiid doesn't get enough respect. Mainly because I think easily he is the best all around center today. Because he can pass decently, not nearly as good as Jokic. And he's pretty good in the paint, and his 3-point shooting has improved incredibly. And I think he's just also better at defense than every other center that we see also.
Yeah, we always talk about Karl Anthony Towns and Nikola Jokic as top centers, and Embiid is right there. Bam Adebayo has gotten into that mix now too. But you're right, as far as a two-way center and being dominant on both ends, Towns is only dominant on one end. Jokic is dominant on one end, and then they're okay on the other. Embiid can dominate on both. We haven't always seen that as consistently, so I think there might be some people out there who would say that he's overrated, but that's kind of the nature of that type of argument. For me, the most underrated guy is Malcolm Brogdon from the Indiana Pacers, because you look at his shooting splits, and he is an elite level shooter at all levels. Very good defensively. He can fit in as a star or as a complementary player. He does not get enough love because he's played in small market teams like Milwaukee and Indiana. There you have it. It's the BbA three-pointer. We'll see you next time. Be sure to check out Basketball by Association on Spreaker and Spotify, iTunes, wherever you find your podcasts for full editions of BbA.